Want more stories in your life without adding to your TBR? That's where Audible comes in. I use it for the original novellas, the Plus catalog like Keanu Reeves' Veronica Speedwell series, and those audiobook sales that you can beat. Right now, Audible has a special offer for new and returning members. Click the link in the show notes to see what deal you'll get and start listening today. Welcome to the Retrox podcast. So excited to be back. And today our guest is Alissa, who is here to talk about her domestic suspense, dark academia, toxic friendship book that I'm obsessed with because I actually was reading while I was at work, which you're not supposed to. Don't tell my boss. But Alissa, tell us what you've been up to.
Thanks so much for having me, Laura. It's a treat to be here. Yeah, it's exciting. I'm really thrilled to announce that my debut novel is coming out this November 4th. And it's really a dream that I've had for a very long time. And it's taken me a while to get there, but we can get into that.
Yeah, I can see based on your bio, I was like, oh, I could see a lot of the things that your live experience have allowed you to create this world. But at the same time, I see the opportunity to have a creative freedom of trying this whole toxic friendships, different things, and the domestic suspense. So we're going to talk about your reading life. We're going to talk about some book recommendations, and we're going to talk about some fun facts about you, which is I saw in your pre-interview that you're a lawyer, which is great. But you work at the CIA. So I want to curious about that because we all have this idea of spies. And I'm sure, as I was telling you the pre-interview, I'm familiar with the FBI and it's not as glamorous as people think it is. So I just want to hear, is it true? Is it glamorous spies or is it just basically, it's a job?
Yeah, absolutely, Laura. It's funny. That's the thing on my bio that people jump to. Honestly, it was a thing that I stumbled into, and it was how I made money in college. I worked there during the summers in college, and it was a fascinating experience. I did political analysis the first year for Iran, and then the second year for China, which was much more in my wheelhouse. And I was a government major, and so I was really focused on figuring out how I could go into government after college. And what I think I came away with was that particular role was not the right fit for me, but I was so impressed with how many amazing, dedicated civil servants we have who literally spend their careers, their lives, just really trying to really understand what's going on around the world. Super smart people that are really staying on top of global politics so that all of us here can be safer. So it was a huge inspiration, and I'm hugely glad that I had that experience and grateful for them for letting me kind of be on campus in Langley for the summers when I was in college.
I love that. And you also work in Capitol Hill, then evolve into tech. So what was that? Because government and tech might have some partnerships, but they're also maybe at odds. So
Yeah.
this is about your Capitol Hill experience. What was it like? I lived
Sure.
after grad school, after post grad, and it's a different way of living. It's very different from other places that I lived. So yeah.
Yeah, it was such an eye-opening experience in terms of learning how politics works firsthand. I'm from New Jersey and a proud New Jerseyan. And so I worked for our senator on the Hill, and also such a great experience because you really get to see sort of the political imagination, the deal making that goes on, and also the impact that lobbyists have on how policy gets made. That was fascinating as well. So, but after college, I decided to go to law school and wound up in a bunch of different jobs. But then my most recent job, I was in-house counsel at a big tech company. And not surprisingly, there was a lot of crossover between government work and the work we were doing as in-house counsels, advising the company on how to stay out of trouble and how to produce products that would be good for users, but also not get us in hot water with governments around the world. Because my role there was rolling out in international markets. And so a lot of times the rules were different and sometimes surprising to the way that we do things here, very different from the way that we do things in America. And so a lot of the job was navigating the differences between those and trying to interpret those in a way that would allow us to build the products we want, but at the same time, not run afoul of international rules. So definitely challenging, definitely an interesting chapter of my life. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I was long-term New Jersey resident, so I love New Jersey. It's the second longest relationship I had after Puerto Rico. So I live in Jersey City in the waterfront area. I loved it. I've been Sandy and all those different things.
And I'm so glad to hear that, Laura. I love that.
I am proud of New Jersey. I don't, they get a bad
Yes.
rap and I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't have to fill your gas. Like, what other place do you do that?
Exactly. It's undeserved. The bad rap is undeserved.
No.
So,
So
yeah.
awesome. So let's talk about your writing journey. What led you to start
Sure.
writing?
Sure. So I think like many writers, I spent a lot of time at my local public library as a kid, which made me an avid reader and also I think created a spark of wanting to be immersed in this world of stories and books. And so when I was on maternity leave from my last job, I was able to, spend some time writing and it was just a treat. And it kind of reignited my love of stories and writing. And over time, I think I realized this is something that I actually could try doing, or at least I was dabbling in it. But it took me a long time to sort of really figure out where I wanted to go with it and figuring out my craft. And I think there is a book in everyone, but I think the process of really honing craft is one that I think takes an enormous amount of work and discipline. And so I threw myself into that process. And during the pandemic is when things really clicked. I was on this kick of saying yes to everything. So I did workshops and classes and attended conferences virtually. And at one point, I think I was in 4 writing groups at the same time, which was wonderful. But I think what really struck me was the importance of writing community, which is something that I hadn't really invested in prior to the pandemic. I had done all the workshops and the reading the books and that kind of thing, but that was what really changed for me. And I found amazing writers who are just incredibly generous people. And it was through that community that I not only made some great friends, but also that's how I wound up meeting my agent. And then a year later, signing a deal with Simon and Schuster, which is for me a dream come true.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And I know a lot of
Yes.
lawyers are turned authors. It's a pretty common
Yes.
and career path, career
Yes.
pivot, or side quest that you may have.
Mhm.
I understand, like, there's, especially because you're dealing with international law, is a very different speak, and work in tech is a different language that you're working with to writing domestic suspense and writing, finding this voice. But what led you to find that spark in writing like that, to find this like niche and this genre within that space
Mhm.
that allow you to maybe transition and at the same time do something different and maybe an escape from the day job?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this started out as a very, and continues to be a very personal story because it was a
Yeah.
lot about long-term friendships. And I feel like when I look back in my life, I always felt very busy. I always felt like I was trying to put this other career I had first. And so when I look back on those friendships, I feel like I wasted a lot of time not investing as much in friendships, particularly with like my roommates from college or friends that I knew from that time in my life. And so when I was kind of coming out of that phase, it really occurred to me like I had some catch up to do. And now I feel like those people, my roommates from college are still my closest friends in the world, the people I treasure the most dearly, people I talk to on a weekly basis. And they have absolutely been there through all the ups and downs of life that we all go through. So in some ways, the book was very much about trying to work through that and figure out like, why is it that we are not, we sort of are not taught how to be a good friend early in life? And then how do we get to a place of more authenticity later in life? Because the book is really about 5 close friends who play a secret game for decades. And then when there's a small fortune on the line for this one last time that they're playing, there are deadly consequences from old lies that they've been holding on to. So it is very much about these complex friendships, but it's also about the secrets that we keep and the lies that we tell, both to ourselves and to our closest friends. So for me, the writing this book has been an exercise in really trying to get to a more authentic place, both with my own friendships and my own relationships in my life, but also with myself. And as a result, my closest friends, which has been the wonderful part of writing this book.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Yes, I love this idea of like transitioning. This is not a friendship that was like in your 20s and you're just going through it. This is
Yeah.
like a 20, 25-year-old friendship. And
Yeah.
I think I'm in that stage of my life in my 40s where friendships are just as valuable. I don't have a husband, I don't have kids, but my friendships are what keeps me going.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a close relative or family, but the friendships that I've made that have helped me be mirrors to who I am. And new friendships come and go, but sometimes those long-term friendships that have seen it all, have seen the downs, have seen the ups, have seen the twists and turns, the moves, the new jobs. And I think it's valuable, but it's also paying attention to them and it's
Yeah.
not when life gets busy or when you're not feeling well, like who puts you down? Who puts you up? Who's there for you?
Yeah.
And at the same time, not expecting them to be always be there. Like when we were in
Yeah.
college, obviously we had the time of our life. We were available all the time.
Yeah.
And now it's just like voice notes and on a passing ship, like basically trying to check in. So I love this idea of like
Yeah.
exploring friendships in your life and also internally, but also reflecting back. Writing friends like this, what was the process for you to write it? Did you plot it out or were you pantsing or you just had the characters come to mind and you were like, okay, here's the conflicts, here's the areas where we're going to actually build this game and build this and how the characters are going to interact with each other?
Sure. I'm a total plotter. So, and I think that's my legal background to stay away from that. But I think what works really well for me is I try to not overplot from the beginning. So I
Yeah.
will have a rough outline, but I try to leave the ending a little bit vague because I do want to have room to be surprised and to surprise myself. And so then after writing a draft or two, I'll go back and actually re-outline what I've written to look at from a macro perspective. How has it changed? How has it evolved? And the hope that it has and it's significantly better than what you set out to do. But then there is that element that you can tweak something and then run it through and everything changes in a hopefully a really surprising good way so that when you get to the end, it's maybe always been a seed in the back of your mind, but at the same time, you still you still allow yourself the ability to be surprised and to be sort of and to have that moment, which I think is fantastic when a writer arrives there, which is that, oh, everything is clicking together finally, right? And
Yeah.
it's all feeling like a complete piece.
Yeah. And how was having a writing community help you kind of like just walk through this process? Because as a debut author, it's a, you just don't know what you don't know. And having people coming in from querying, from actually like just redrafting, editing, and trying to polish this and then finding a publisher and then getting this process of actually birthing the
Yeah.
child, the book coming out, and then having readers so you have no control over, read the book and have
Yeah.
an opinion about it.
It's such a great point, Laura. I think it's essential. And my one piece of advice to any writer is to really find your people. And it can be a group at the public library, it can be a group that you find online, it can be through a workshop that you've done where you just email people. I had the most wonderful experience in terms of like a study in friendship where I took a online class at Grove Street in Boston and a woman from that our small group workshop emailed me afterwards and said, I want to be friends. Let's be writing friends. I was said, absolutely. I love this. And I love that you went out on a limb and wanted to ask that because the answer is absolutely yes. And since that day, we actually continually have been exchanging work, sometimes every week, sometimes every month. But I feel like she is absolutely there for me. And I'm now in a writing group that is just wonderful because I think we talk a lot about the writing itself, but also there's so many questions. And this is such a unique process in terms of all of the things that you laid out, the publishing, the marketing, all of those things. And to have people who are experienced and to have people who have had different experiences from yours, but also enough have been down this path to know where to avoid the pitfalls or just how to guard your mental health and to really say, you know what, these things matter, but ultimately there's a lot that doesn't. And so really understanding where to put your energies has been life-saving to put it
Yes.
short and make it short and sweet.
Yes, I talk to people who are like, "I wanna make adult friends." I don't know. I'm like, find a hobby and then talk to the person who's doing the hobby and talk
Yes.
about it. And who knows, maybe you pursue the side quest that's gonna give you to another job, another career, or maybe it's just something that brings you joy and brings you fun, and it's just a good escape from life. But at least having community, I think community is the biggest aspect that you need this. You need the village. You can't just do this by yourself. It's really lonely if you're doing it by yourself.
It's so true, Laura. It's such a unique thing that writers do where we sit alone in our rooms for hours on end. So having people who understand what that's like and how crazy making it is sometimes, I think is
Yeah.
also really valuable.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's start with your reading life. What kind of books do you tend to read?
Sure. I really try to read across the spectrum because I feel that a good story well told has so much to teach us in so many different ways. So I try not to limit myself to a genre, although I do love the thriller suspense genre. That's
Yeah.
sort of my nearest and dearest to my heart. But there's so many good, as we were saying before we started, there's so many good books out there right now. It's really, we're spoiled for choice.
Yes, the fall season is a great book. Like, it's a great book season. I have to tell you, with your debut, there's the books that you're recommending. Like, there's something for everyone. Like, if you find right now, if you're looking for escape, if you're looking for comfort, if you're looking for like just something to focus your attention that's not doom scrolling, like books, this season is a great season to have books. So let's talk about some book recommendations you have for us. Tell us which ones you recommend.
Sure. Well, as not surprisingly, I'm suspense is very much on my mind because I'm now writing book two. And so all of the building blocks are very much front of mind for me. So I put together three books that I feel like are in the three of them together are a masterclass in building suspense. And what I love about these three books, especially, is that they have such rich, evocative settings. The setting is a character on its own. And the way that they use the setting to compound that suspense, I feel like is really just amazing and so impressive. So the first book is Sea Wife by Amity Gage. I found this book after reading her more recent novel, Heartwood, but was surprised to find that I actually love Sea Wife even more. The story revolves around a couple who set off with their young kids for a year on a sailboat. And it's brilliant in the way that it unpacks their relationships to each other, to parenting, and to their careers and their own pasts, which, of which there is some darkness there. The characters are so well drawn and the tension keeps mounting. But the way that Amity Gage describes the sailboat and the changing weather conditions is so immersive. So highly recommend.
Oh my gosh. I saw this one and I was like,
It's
sailboat? And you're just trying to figure out how this is going to with children? Like,
yeah,
yes, I need this
yeah,
book. I used to sail when I was a child. I was in Puerto Rico and one of my friends had a sailboat.
yeah,
We used to sail to the other islands and stuff like that. So I know it's a much more complex thing than just going on
yeah,
a cruise and then or going on a yacht or something like that. But at the same time, having children, having extended period of time, and having to be in that tight
yeah,
space and having to
yeah.
deal with the situation. There's no place to escape. There's no like, actually, I can just go take a drive somewhere else. Like you can, you're in the boat.
Exactly. And with very young kids, the tension is there for
Yeah.
so well done. And the
Yeah.
second recommendation is called Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. And this has been on a lot of lists recently, so it may not be new to a lot of your listeners. But wow, it's the story of a father and his children who are caretakers of a seed bank on a remote island off Antarctica, and a woman who mysteriously washes up, raising questions about her presence and what happened on the island before her arrival. The setting is so unique and so well drawn, you get a really visceral sense of the inhospitable nature of life there, which for me really captured the challenges of living in an uncertain world.
Yeah.
I've been telling everyone about this book, and it just is definitely the kind of book you will sit down and read on a dark and stormy day and not surface until you're done.
This is a book is actually on my library hold list. So I am very
Okay.
excited. I'm so excited. I think just the setting alone and just the uncertainty of like what is happening, what secrets. And I know based
Yeah.
on reviews, it's a spectacular book to read. So yes, I'm very excited. So I'm glad that you
Okay,
recommended it.
good.
I'm like, I'm actually glad that I'm going to keep that hope.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that, Laura.
Yeah.
And then the third book is Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. It's so beautifully told, and it's a story that manages to be both a love story and a thriller set in the English countryside. Similar to the other two books, this story felt really immersive, and it's a masterclass in pacing. Definitely recommend. And I am going to reread it because I actually love the way that she layers in sort of increasing obstacles for our protagonist. So that's my mini masterclass.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I love as someone who's like newer to the suspense genre, I love these recommendations because there's a little bit of more to like I can see why it would be a great place, a great setting to have, but at the same time, actually I can't wait to see how the author takes you in that journey of uncertainty and you're not sure where you're gonna go
Mm,
next. So
right, right. Absolutely.
Alisa, tell us where we can find you online.
Sure. Yes. I'm getting my website at alissalee.com, but then also Alissa W. Lee on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you, Alisa, for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Laura. This was such a treat.
Thanks for listening to the What to Read Next. For more book lists, cozy reads, and library tips, visit the whattoreadnextblog.com. Your next great read might be waiting there. Are you an author, publisher, or book related business looking to reach passionate readers? What to Read Next podcast is a perfect place to connect with an engaged audience of romance and mystery lovers who are always on the hunt for their next great read. Now, we're offering sponsorship opportunities. Whether you're launching a new book, promoting an upcoming release, showcasing a bookish product or services, we can help you get the word out. Let's work together to bring your books or businesses to readers who are ready to discover something new. Please visit whatchreaditsblog.com/sponsorships to learn more or reach out to chat about the perfect sponsorship or package for you. Thank you much for listening. Your next great reader is waiting for you.